Oh, man. Sheesh. Okay, holy moly. 2 minutes. 34 minutes late. uh. Let me just check one last time. Okay, jeez, should be good now. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, something's wrong. Okay, let me see here. Maybe if I change this to... Maybe that'll help. Oh, well, good to just get it over with now. Rip the YouTube live band-aid right off. Okay. So it's at 9,000 kilobytes per second. Okay, I better just make sure that I'm going. Um, okay. Yeah, I know I'm live. I just got a bunch of errors on my end. I'm just trying to see if I could run through a couple things to fix those super fast. Okay, so I'm gonna have to turn this saga a little bit down. Oh, that's up. Just to make sure that that'll be where it needs to be. Yeah, share it up, Mary. I got I didn't start anything yet. I just had to fix a bunch of errors. Okay. Okay. Cool. Well, this will be fun. I'm really excited to do these. Um I I'm gonna turn myself off so I don't because I don't need to. Oh, I don't need to listen to myself. Um, so I had a blast this morning. Whew, I shouldn't have had coffee before I. um, yeah. So this morning I went for a little walk. One of the things that I want to be able to do for for these sessions is to be able to go for a walk, go for a little medicine walk, be able to go for a walk in the bush and find all kinds of cool stuff. I live really close to Fleming, so it was really easy for me just to be able to go out and like this morning, I just walked over and went for a little walk. And the plan, the intent was to go and make a couple little videos, stopping, checking out some of the plants, some of the flowers that are there right now. But I forgot a bug net, and holy man, those mosquitoes were crazy this morning. It was absolutely insane. I that Mosquitoes usually only, they don't really bother me, but man, it's really nice to have a headlamp or a head net every now and then. And this morning I didn't have one, so I was just getting wrecked. I was getting eaten so bad, and then I wasn't even focused on the little video that the medicine walk I was trying to make. So what I would like to do is just to be able to share with you guys the forest, all of the medicine that's right at Fleming. That's always I thought that was going to be a really nice idea, but there was no way I was going to be able to do it this morning. I couldn't even focus. I was there trying to record, and you could see there's like 40 mosquitoes on my face all at, and then I didn't want you guys watching me just with a whole bunch of mosquitoes stuck on my face. And then it was so bad, one time I wiped my forehead because I was getting sweaty because it was hot, and I was walking real fast to try to stay away from the bugs. But then I just wiped my face, and then I got chills everywhere. I just had so many mosquitoes and so many mosquito bites. I'm finally just feeling like I'm over it now. Moral of the story is I didn't actually get a little video for you guys. There is a couple of other things though that I will be able to share. Maybe one of the things that I want to just be able to cover, since I started 35 minutes late, or probably even 40 minutes late, is that when every Friday I wanted to be able to hang out with everybody And every Friday cover different topics all summer long. Cover different topics, different things that we should be doing right now. Some current events, plans that we should be engaging with. Yeah, right now. And but also I want to be able to answer your questions, so I just wanted to use these Friday sessions to sort of try to create a little community, and uh, try to create a little community where we can all come hang out and discuss different things. And so I guess first of all, one of the first things that I should say is who I am. So I wanted to be able to let everybody know that yeah, I'm Joe, Joseph Petronakut. I'm from Wicomakong on Manitoulin Island, and I started to learn about medicine. Started to learn about plant-based medicine probably about 10 years ago. When I met my wife, me and my wife spent a lot of time with my grandma, and we would be visiting with my grandma. And one of my favorite ideas is how my grandma grew up without access to a hospital. And so when me and my wife would visit with her, that was one of our favorite things to be able to spend time with her and talk to her about, is about how can she possibly live and raise her family, or you know, her mom, my great grandma, raise her family without access to a hospital. They did that all using plants, and that was one of the craziest ideas. And so me and my wife spent so much time with her learning about that, and she always has really really crazy stories. Their role in our community was midwives. They would go out and help women with having getting ready for pregnancy, and then also with the delivery. And yeah, they got all kinds of real crazy stories about that. So, um, so yeah, everything is still all good. Okay, yeah. So, um, one of the craziest ideas that we ever got from her, and from every other medicine person that we learned from. So we got all of this inspiration and motivation from my grandma, and a lot of knowledge. And then what we did with that is we started visiting around with other people who knew about medicine, and people who even practiced it professionally, and people who have dedicated their lives to learning with it. We were spending so much time with everybody, and and what we realized is that everyone was pretty well all saying the same thing, and so um, we we sort of consolidated all of those stories and that everybody has. And one of the most fascinating ideas is that the community that they remember, the community that my grandma remembers, and the way that everybody used to talk about what life was like, the way that my grandma's elders would speak, is that the community was without chronic disease. There was no diabetes, there was no cancer, and the way that people are aging now, that's not the way that it used to be. The way that it used to be is that you used to be like 90 years old. Some people would even be over 100 years old, and they would still be putting away like 15 cords of wood for the winter, or they'd still be tilling with horses, plowing their garden with horses. Um, uh, um, like 2 acres of vegetable gardens, and doing like really intense, hard physical labor, well into their 90s, and then even when they're over 100 years old. And she would always make these jokes. Well, I guess everybody always made these jokes about how, if you ever met if you ever got anybody who is super old, if you ever got them mad, you were still really, really scared physically, because they could just wreck you. And that was always one of my favorite ideas, because now when we look at aging and we look at chronic disease, we could probably expect to have diabetes by the time we're 50. Even if we are, watching what we eat a little bit, we could expect to have diabetes when we're 50, and we should be expecting autoimmune diseases, and we should be it's like all of these health consequences, all of these negative health consequences is just an expectation. It's just something that's going to happen. And as you age, this is what's going to happen. As you age, you're going to become very frail, and you're not going to be able to we look at muscle atrophy, and you're not going to be able to conduct the same amount of work as you normally would be able to. And so, we always had a lot of fun playing around with these ideas that there's quite a few people in our community who are really old, but they're still moose hunting. They still have a giant garden. And so what are they doing that's different? And for a lot of these cases and for a lot of these situations, one of the differences was that they were constantly always engaging in medicine. They were always using plants. They had a tea cupboard that looks like this, all kinds of different plants that they were having on a regular basis. And so we thought, well, there's something really special about this. There's something something worth pursuing here. And so it's been we took it upon ourselves to just learn anything and everything that we could from my grandma, and then from all of our other medicine knowledge holders. Well, not all, but as many as we can, to be able to learn about as much medicine as we could, and then everything just sort of snowballed from there. Once people started to realize we were learning, and we were going out into the forest, and we were finding these things, finding all of the medicine and harvesting it, providing it for my grandma, and then also having it available, for people to just come get. We sort of turned into that sort of resource. And then what happened was we started to experience, people would tell us, they would come to us for kidney medicine, and I would have a plant that my grandma calls kidney medicine, and I would just say, well, there it is. And then they would come back to us and say, yeah, well, I had that kidney stone and it came out. I passed it and it didn't hurt at all. And so we were like, whoa, what do you mean? And then, some other people would be able to come and say that, they have really bad diabetic neuropathy, no feeling in their feet, like Mr. Deeds. And so we'd give them Tamarack, we'd give them the medicine that they needed. And then they would come back a couple days later with feeling throughout their entire foot, sensation throughout their entire foot. And so we were getting these experiences, and we were like, whoa, man, this medicine is really working. And it's really being able to help heal all of these really crazy chronic conditions. And so we started to really focus on making sure everyone was getting medicine. And then we realized right away that, maybe it's not just being the provider. How about if we worked with the Heritage Organization, and we worked with social services to be able to provide teachings to community members, to teach people how to make medicine. And once we started doing that in our community, we like for our arthritis medicine, one of my favorite medicines to make with students at Fleming, the arthritis medicine, we taught like 26 people in our community how to make it. And so they all went home to their families and made their own medicine. And then provided it to all of their family members. And that medicine really quickly spread, throughout our community, to the point where, we could see, in our community statistically, that arthritis is being controlled. And so then, once we started teaching, then we started to be called to all different communities all over all over Ontario, and then into the States even a little bit. And so we were going into all of these communities and teaching about medicine, and but also providing it as well. And so then this is sort of how our business started. And 3 years ago, we moved to Peterborough, and so we've been here for 3 or 4 years. This summer we'll be here for 4 years. And just by proximity, I tend to do a lot of work at Fleming, and then that turned into like a really good I think that I have a really good relationship with Fleming and the students that are there. And so now things are a little bit more unusual, but I think that this is going to be a way that we're going to be able to provide some of the same type of programming that I would normally be there to provide. So yeah, we'll one of the things that, I mean, this is what I want to do. I want to be able to take you on different medicine walks. I want to be able to have like some pre-recorded content to be able to just share as a part of the stream, and then I want to be able to um, uh, uh, and then I want to be able to um, show you how to make different things. And I want to focus on, some of the easy things, some of the medicines, some of the plants that are incredibly abundant, that are very easy to find, very easy to identify, and then hopefully give you enough information and enough knowledge that you could be able to be doing it on your own. And so that'll be really fun. I think that coming and hanging out every Friday for an hour or so is gonna prove to be a pretty fun little adventure. And so maybe we could just leave it there for now, to be able to just introduce the idea, like who I am and where I came from, who I learned from, and how everything started, and then start. So each week we'll focus on a different medicine, we'll focus on a different disease, we'll focus on a different body part, a different sort of ailment or something, and then the medicine that's here to be able to fix that, to be able to get closer to what my grandmother remembers, the lives that we're capable of living, that this land is able to provide for us, which is a life without chronic disease, a life where when we could look at aging and not have to worry about frailty, and to not be, the way that I was anyway, just, living my life expecting certain diseases to begin to arise just at a certain number, at a certain chronological age that I achieved. And so I want to help be there to help you prevent that as well, and to give you some of the tools that you need to be able to live the life that this land is capable to provide for you. One of my favorite ideas that I'm going to be stressing all the time, that I'm going to be stressing every single week, is that in our language, in Anishinaabe, we have I asked my grandma one time, we were living in Rabbit Island. We were just starting out, just fresh, and me and my wife, we get into all kinds of real cool discussions, really cool conversations. And I asked my wife one time, out of one really cool conversation I was having with my wife one time, we asked my grandma, how would you say knowledge in Anishinaabe? Because I'm not fluent, so I do not know. And my grandma, she's like this resource person for language. Everybody would always go to her to learn as much as to learn how to say words, old words, or make up new words. She was like that person, and so she was that person for us. And so we asked her, whenever we have questions, we ask her. And so we asked her one time, how do you say knowledge? How do you say knowledge in Anishinaabe? And she said what the same thing she always says. She says, give me some time, I'll think about that. She never liked to answer anything super fast right away. She didn't want to be I don't know how to say. She didn't want to. She really didn't want to be wrong. Wants to make sure she thinks about everything before she answers. And then that question, she took real long. So 2 weeks later, she called, and she called. We had like a little Motorola flip phone Razr, and we had one windowsill where it had signal, so that's where it always sat. And it was a cold windowsill, so it always had to be plugged in, and you couldn't move from it. And so she called, and we ran to the phone. Mama, it says. And then we opened it. Hey, and she says, "Oh, I have an answer for your question." And I thought, oh man, you asked me how to say knowledge. And I thought, oh yeah, we asked that so long ago. And she really wanted to take a long time to think about that, and so she said, "Awadzoin." Awadzoin is knowledge. That's how we would say it in the Anishinaabe language. And so he said, "Oh, okay, Awadzoin, Awadzoin." And then we chatted about whatever. But after me and my wife were chatting about that word, and then what we realized, or what I realized, is that Awadzoin is a root word. It's a root word for so many different words, and so in the Anishinaabe language, every sound has a different meaning. Every sound means something else. And one of the things that I was taught is that my last name, Pitawanakwit, means, or the way that we would say this is Bidankwit. Bidankwit is talking about clouds. Ankwit is a cloud, and you could talk about clouds all day. Ankwit, 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 or whatever. But when you put a B on the beginning of that word and make it Bidankwit, this is a cloud that you could see. It's a cloud that's coming in. And so whenever you see a B sound in the beginning of a word, that's what it does. It makes it physically present. It makes it so that it's standing right in front of you and coming towards you. And so when you take Oadsuin, our word for knowledge, and you put a B sound in the beginning of it and you make it Bimadzuin, this becomes knowledge that you can see, knowledge that's right in front of you, and knowledge that's physically present. And so Bimadzuin is also a word that we use to describe life. Life is Bimadzuin. And so life is knowledge that you could see. And what my grandma would always, when we took that to her, this idea that Oadsoin is a root word to so many other words, knowledge is needed to be able to describe or to be able to say all of these different things. We were visiting with her about this idea that me and my wife were wrestling around with. It is a really neat idea that life is just knowledge that you could see. And so we asked her, we said, well, then we just asked her, well, what do you think about that then? Then if it's knowledge that you could see. And she said, yeah. And then you know what that means? No one is actually alive. And me and my wife freaked out when she said that. We were like, what? What do you mean no one is alive? And she said, no one knows what it takes to be able to live in this world anymore. And so we shouldn't be able to call ourselves alive in our language because we don't have the knowledge of what it takes to be able to live there. And so we play this exercise with people all over the place, giving them sort of trying to understand really what that means. And the way that I like to describe it is if you just take a second, take a minute, couple minutes, whatever, however long it takes you. But think about all of the things that you've engaged with today or in the last couple of days that have sustained your life or that have given you the ability to live. And generally, when we do this exercise in communities or with people all over, what happens is we think about we think all of the things that kept us alive. Oh, well, okay, so water. We'll think water, and we get water from bottles or we get water from the tap. Uh, but then when we think of where we get our food, the food that keeps us alive, we get that from No Frills or from Sobeys. But then if we get sick or injured, we go to the hospital, and then we go to Shoppers Drug Mart, and then the way that our method, our mode of transportation is, we drive inside of vehicles. Our vehicles are on top of the road, and every time we walk somewhere, we walk on the sidewalk, and it's like everything that we do, everything that keeps us alive, is on top of Ontario. It's just floating on top of Ontario, and from Shoppers to No Frills to the vehicles that we drive on and the sidewalks that we walk on, everything is just floating on top of Ontario. And the reason why we're up here is because we don't have the knowledge that we need to be able to live the life that Ontario is here to be able to provide. And you remember my grandma, when my grandma was growing up, they had that knowledge, and they were much closer to Ontario than we are here now. And so the lives that they were living, having that knowledge and being that close to the land, being that close to Ontario, they were able to be that much closer to living the life that this land is able to provide, which is a life without chronic disease, a life without where you age well, and so. If we want to be able to achieve that life, it's knowledge is the only thing that's going to take us there, and then living that knowledge. And so that's one of the things that I want to be able to provide through all of these different sessions. Every Friday at 1:00, we're going to come hang out, and we're going to be able to talk about different Mshkikiads and different medicine knowledge, different knowledges that you need to be able to live the life that you're able to provide, that this land is able to provide you. And so yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. Each week we'll focus on a different knowledge. Each week we'll focus on a different disease or a different medicine and what they're here for. And yeah, we should have a lot of fun. So I hope that makes sense. And I think the way that this works is if I end the stream, this should be posted. And then you'll be able to check her out. So that's what it'll look like. And I'm really excited to hang out with you guys and cover all of these different ideas and give you some tools that you need to be able to go back to the land, to be able to go back to Ontario and live that life. So cool beans. 2:00. I'm gonna head out. And we'll see you every Friday at 1. For sure, 1 next time.